Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm showcasing you my Psy-Frame build for the November 2017 format. So let's jump right into it. Starting off, we have two Psy-Frame drivers. Now driver is what the Psy-Frame gear monsters special summon from the deck. And you never want to open this card. This card is something that you want to keep in the deck. I was running it at 3, but I do play the multi-threader, so I've bumped it down to 2. And it's just a vanilla monster that gets you into your synchro summons, basically. So Psy-Frame Driver is a necessity in the deck, and so we play it. Next up, we have the 2 Psy-Frame multi-threader. Now, multi-threader is great because it protects your Psy-Frames. If by chance your circuit is going to get popped and this card is in your hand, you can drop the circuit and then save. You can drop the multi-threader and then save the circuit, and that goes for your Psy-Frame monsters also, whether that be synchro or your regular monsters. You can drop the threader, protect it. Also, threader has an effect where if it's in the graveyard and a Psy-Frame monster is special summoned to your side of the field, you can special summon the multi-threader, but it gets banished when it leaves the field. It also acts as Psy-Frame Driver in the hand and in the graveyard, so that gives you another Psy-Frame Driver name in the deck that you can use. And I like having that too because you do use it for protection and it does come in handy a lot. Now up to the Psy-Frame gears, we have Psy-Frame Gear Alpha, which we play 3 of. This card is, so basically all the Psy-Frames, the point of the Psy-Frame deck is to basically stop your opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, that's basically what it is. We have a Psy-Frame Gear monster for everything that your opponent would do. And in this case, it's normal or special summoning the monster. When your opponent summons a monster, you can activate the Psy-Frame Gear Alpha, and then Alpha will special summon with the driver, and then you can get a search for any Psy-Frame card. So that can get you the circuit, that can get you your overload, that can get you a gamma, or if a delta, whichever card you need at the moment. Alpha can get that to you. And then if you have the circuit on board, you can synchro summon to a Zeta or a Black Rose or something like that. So Psy-Frame Gear Alpha is basically the searcher of the deck, and so you play 3 of. You're gonna want to play 3 of for most of the Psy-Frames, and by most I mean all of them. So, well, not Epsilon. We don't play Epsilon in the deck. But we do play Beta, and we play 3 Beta. So Beta activates when your opponent would attack you directly, and it basically negates the attack, ends the battle phase, and then destroys that monster. So you never want monsters on your side of the field. Your Psy-Frames can only activate if you control no monsters. So if you have a monster on the field, you basically can't play your deck. It becomes a weird thing where most of your plays come from your hand. Now, this is basically a hand trap deck. And with the meta being completely about hand traps, Psy-Frames are really great. And so since you don't need any monsters on your side of the field, your opponent is really just going to be worried about what you have in your hand, and they're going to be scared of what to do because most of their stuff's going to get negated. And that's just how it is when you're playing a Psy-Frame deck. So if they attack you directly, you drop the Beta, you end the battle phase, you destroy that monster, and then you can get a Zeta or you can get a Black Rose, destroy their field, and now they're in their main phase 2 and they don't know what to do. So Beta is really good. You run them at 3. And then you run Psy-Frame Gear Delta. Delta, it negates spells. So when your opponent activates a spell card, you can drop this, negate it. It's really great if they activate a Twin Twisters and to pop your circuit, and you just chain the Delta, and it's always really great. And it helps you a lot. Depending on the deck, either Psy-Frame is going to be really good or really bad for the matchup. For most decks, a lot of decks play a lot of spells, so Delta is really good. And for other decks, they activate a lot of monster effects, and that's where Gamma comes in. So we play 3 Psy-Frame Gear Gamma. Gamma negates a monster effect. What's fantastic is when you have 2 Gammas in hand, and one Gamma gets negated by another monster effect, and then you negate that monster's effect with another Gamma. So that's always great. Gamma is really good. It's probably the most powerful Psy-Frame card we have at the moment. This card is going up in price a lot, and it's actually being used in a lot of decks, aside from Psy-Frame builds. So a lot of people are playing the Gammas and the Psy-Frame drivers as hand traps because it is a great hand trap, and it does keep your opponent from going off. So Psy-Frame Gear Gamma is really strong. It's also a level 2 monster, just like the Delta, that gets you into your Omega plays, which is always fantastic because Omega is another FU to your opponent, which is great. And that basically rounds off the Psy-Frames. We also run 2 card D. I was running this at 3, but like you don't want to see it when you can't use it. If you have Zeta on field or something, it's just, I don't know. I like the ratio of 2. Like I can see people playing at 3, and I used to play at 3, but right now 2 is where I want to see it. Because you do want to see it more in the early game, because that's when you want to catch your opponent. You know, you want to catch your opponent before they do anything, before they get anything on the board. And sometimes if you drop the card D when it's too late, they have answers for the card D already. So having that 2 is good. So basically, you activate the card D, it sends itself to the graveyard, and then you draw 2 cards, and it becomes your end phase. And that doesn't really matter for you because at this point you probably have a circuit up, you probably have an overload set, and then you have Psy-Frame monsters on your hand and no monsters on the field, and that's exactly where you want to be. So card D is really good. Now, up to the other hand traps, aside from the Psy-Frame Gear monsters, we have 2 Ghost Ogres. Ghost Ogre is really good because it can prevent your opponent from going off with their continuous spells or their field spells. With pendulums especially, you can pop their continuous spells or their sky irises so they don't get their effects. And you can also pop monsters that activate in the field, and so it's really good to have. And it comes in handy, especially if you don't want to use a Psy-Frame resource yet and you just want to bait something out. You can drop the Ghost Ogre, negate something, and then it's just always going to be good for you having the Ghost Ogre in your hand. We also play the 1 Maxi. You have to play the Maxi. If you're not playing the Maxi, why? Why? Maxi's too good in this format. You have to play it. Maxi, get to draw cards. They want to do the Maxi challenge. It's up to them. But the more cards in your hand, the harder it is for them to play it. So Maxi is always great. And that rounds off the monsters. Up to the spells, we have 3 Psy-Frame circuits. This card is basically the necessity in the deck. It's the field spell that allows you to special summon when a Psy-Frame gets special summoned into the field. Then you can immediately after synchro summon into another monster. So Psy-Frame Circ is really great. It also has a secondary effect where in the battle phase, if your opponent would attack a Psy-Frame monster, you can drop a Psy-Frame monster from your hand, and then the attack of that Psy-Frame monster that was discarded gets added to your monster. So you basically catch your opponent off guard like that. You can bump up your Omegas and your Zetas into even stronger monsters, and that's always great. So Psy-Frame Circuit is really important in the deck, and you always want to see it right away so you can get your synchro summons out. But in case you don't get your synchro summons out and your monsters get banished at the end phase, which they all do, you run 2 Psychic Field Zone. Now Psychic Field Zone, its effect is you can target 2 of your banished Psy-Frame monsters, bring it back into the graveyard, and then synchro summon using those monsters. And that's great if you want to get your Omegas, your Zetas. They go into defense position, but you can still activate their effects, which is always great. So Psychic Field Zone basically makes you comfortable with the fact that your monsters are banished because they're going to come back, and they're going to come back as a synchro monster, which is always great. So Psychic Field Zone, running that 2. We also run 1 Psychic Path. Psychic Path returns 2 monsters from the banished zone into your hand if you pay 800 life points. This can be great if you use Overload. And let's say you use Overload on your opponent's turn and then you use it back on your turn. You can bring back both of those banished monsters you use for Overload back into your hand to start reusing Overload. So Psychic Path can really be an annoyance to your opponent and really help you have the cards in hand that you need to negate what they're doing. So Psychic Path is good. We run 2 Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality is good because It gets you deep into your deck. You do it on your turn. You barely ever special summon on your turn, so it's always going to be great. And it's just a good card. I like running it at 2. I can see people running at 3, but I feel like 2 is a good number. You can only use it once per turn either way, so having 2 Power of Duality is really good. And then I run the 2 Foolish Burial Goods. I'm a dick, so I don't have the second one yet. Not that it's a hard card to get, I just haven't gone and gotten it. So having the 2 Foolish Burial Goods though is really important, because that's what's going to drop your Overload into the graveyard, and then that's going to get you your searches, because Overload can basically search out any Psy-Frame card. And it's great if you dump it into the graveyard, you see your opponent and what they're trying to do, you can chain the Overload, get the card you need, and then activate that Psy-Frame. So Foolish Burial Goods just basically helps accelerate your deck and gets you the Overload into the grave, because you really want it in the grave. Like, you can have it on the field and start banishing cards, but if you have it in the grave, you know that's an automatic Psy-Frame. So Foolish Burial Goods is really good at 2. We play the 1 Raigeki for board wipe, just as another insult to your opponent. And then we play the 1 Upstart Goblin to make it a 39 card deck, because you just kind of want to get through your cards, you know? And the less bulk you have, the better in Psy-Frames. So that's the spells. Off to the traps, we run 3 Psy-Frame Overload. Now, Psy-Frame Overload is a super crazy card. You can discard, you can banish 1 Psy-Frame monster you control or in your hand, and then banish 1 card in your opponent's field face down. Now that's great because it banishes face down, so they can't interact with that card. So Psy-Frame Overload is going to be really good in disrupting plays and making sure that grave effects don't get activated because they get banished face down. And it also has a grave effect, so you can banish the card from your graveyard and then search any Psy-Frame card and add it to your hand. So Psy-Frame Overload is really great. Like I just explained with Foolish Burial Goods, you're going to want to put it into the graveyard, and at the same time, you're going to want to start banishing your opponent's cards with it, whether it be their spells or traps or their monsters. So Psy-Frame Overload is really good to have at 3. And we also play 3 Metaverse. This is the new terraforming that came out. Basically, it's the trap version. What's great about this card is that if you have this card set and you have the Psy-Frame in hand, and let's say they activate a Mausoleum or something, like a spell card, you can activate the Delta, negate the spell, and then chain the Metaverse. So that Metaverse gets the field spell to your field first, which will then let the Delta come out onto the field, having the circuit activate, and then you get your Synchro Summon. So Metaverse can either activate a spell card directly from your deck onto your field, or it can add it to your hand. And regardless, you're getting that circuit, and it's great when you can do that chain, so you can get the Psy-Frame and then get the Metaverse to get the circuit out, and then get your Synchro Summon. And that really catches people off guard, and it's really great when you pull it off. So Metaverse is really good at 3 in making sure you have your Psy-Frame circuits. And even if they pop the circuit, you can then activate a Psy-Frame and then your set Metaverse if you have one, and get another circuit. So it's really great having the trap version of terraforming in this deck, because it really helps you have that reassurance that you're going to get your combo play out. So 3 Metaverse is great. And for the final trap, we run 1 Skill Drain. Skill Drain is a big fuck you to your opponent. Basically, you pay 1,000 and all effects on the field cannot activate, and they're just negated. Or they could activate, but they're negated. But what's great about Skill Drain actually is that you can use card D with Skill Drain on the field, because card D sending itself to the graveyard is a cost, and its effect activates in grave. So card D with Skill Drain now can actually still get its effect. So Skill Drain works really well with deck, and since all your cards activate in hand, then once they hit the field, it's, you know, it doesn't matter. But your opponent is gonna get hurt more than you are gonna get hurt by this card. So Skill Drain is really good. Once you get this card out, you're basically winning. So off to the extra deck, we run 3 Psy-Frame Lord Omega. Now Omega is great. This is the oppressor in the deck. This is what everyone fears. He's a level 8 synchro monster that can, during either player's turn, he can banish himself and then one random card in your opponent's hand. And that just takes away their resources, and that's going to hinder them from making their plays as great as they want to, because they're not going to have as many cards now because you banished one. If you have 2 Omegas, you banish 2, and it gets ridiculous. The more Omegas, the better. It also has an effect in the standby phase, which works really well with Psy-Frame Overload. So if Psy-Frame Overload is banished from its own effect, once you searched your Psy-Frame, you can activate Psy-Frame Lord Omega's effect at standby, bring the Overload back into the graveyard, and then you can banish the Overload again to get another search. And then Omega is just really great. It can float over different effects by chaining itself and then banishing one of your opponent's cards. So Psy-Frame Lord Omega really helps bring the deck into a new light. You have to run it at 3. It's great. I mean, you can run it 2, but I like running it at 3. I also run 3 Psy-Frame Lord Zeta. Now, Zeta is super cool too. He's the level 7 synchro that you're going to be going into a lot. He can banish himself and a face-up attack position special summon monster your opponent controls. So if they normal summon a monster, you can't take that monster away, but you can take a special summon monster away, and then it comes back during your next standby phase. And so does Omega. What's great about Omega and Zeta in the Link format is that when they get special summon into your Link zone and he activates his effect to banish himself, when he comes back into the main monster zone. And so does Zeta. So that's how you get away with playing Psy-Frames in the Link format, because you get your one monster out, you banish it, and then you can get another monster out, banish it. On your next standby phase, both of them can come out in the main monster zone. And that's how you really get your plays going. So Psy-Frame Lord Zeta at 3. It's really cool. Also, when this card hits the graveyard, you can return it to the extra deck and then return a Psy-Frame card from your graveyard to your hand. And that could be really good. Sometimes I don't fear having Zeta go to the grave because I know I'm going to get another Psy-Frame resource. And with Omega, if Omega goes to the graveyard, you can return him to the extra deck and then return one card in your graveyard to your deck. So if you have a Raigeki that you already used and Omega is in your graveyard, you could bring that Raigeki back into your deck so you can get it back again. So Omega and Zeta are really cool in the deck. They're going to be the ones you go into the most. But aside from them, the other psychic monsters that we use for psychic field zone targets are Thought Ruler Archfiend. Thought Ruler Archfiend is cool, getting you back life points, and he's a level 8 synchro. And then we also have Hyper Psychic Blaster. He's the level 9. Sometimes you can have a Zeta and then a level 2 Psy-Frame card and then go into the Psychic Blaster, or one Omega and then like a Beta, like a level 1. So Hyper Psychic Blaster is really cool with the Thought Ruler Archfiend, in that they're psychic monsters and you can go into them really easily, especially with Psychic Field Zone. So you run one of each. You also run one Stardust Spark Dragon. He can protect himself or some other card in the field like Circuit, and so he's really cool. We have a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. You can go into Crystal Wing with this deck. And Crystal Wing is one of those cards that's super annoying for your opponent to get over, so it's really good to have in the deck. We have a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. During the main phase, you can destroy all attack position monsters, and then he can just attack for 3,000. That's really sick. Then we have a Scrap Dragon. Scrap Dragon can activate his effect and target himself, and then just you have a free board again, and he just destroyed a card. So Scrap Dragon is really good. We have Michael the Arch Lightsworn. He can banish a card by paying 1,000, so that can come in handy sometimes. We have Ancient Fairy Dragon, and he can pop your field spell, get you another field spell, and then you just gain life points. So the Ancient Fairy Dragon is really cool, and it works really well in the deck, and it's level 7. And last but not least, we have Black Rose Dragon. This card fucks up your opponent. It just destroys everything. The best part of having the Black Rose Dragon is that if you have a multi-threader in your hand, you can just drop the multi-threader and save your cards from getting destroyed. So it really just like, it's just a big fat FU to your opponent. It's really great playing the Black Rose Dragon. And I think I play it like 1 in every 3 matches. Like, it's so good. So that's basically my deck. If you have any suggestions, if you play Psy-Frames, you have any cool texts you want to share, you can leave it down in the comments below, and I'll definitely read it and consider it. And if you like my content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.